Hi, this is Sean Michael Lewis, and I am excited to announce episode 1 of the Niche Experience. This is going to be a completely different type of podcast YouTube show where I am going to actually be looking at niche industries, some that we work in, some that we don't work in, some that we're looking at working in from an agency's perspective. And we're going to look at websites. We're going to look at online marketing. We're going to look at what they're doing and areas maybe they can improve or areas they're doing really well. And maybe some areas they're quite frankly not doing so well. And I'm just very excited because this is going to be a little bit more interactive where companies that might be watching can chime in and comment. But, always just looking for ways to make things better, make things more interactive, especially with the movement of how marketing and technology and social behavior is going. I really want to see how can we dive in, whether you're an agency, whether you work for one of these businesses, how can you get a little bit better? So the first month, we're going to be doing a few episodes on the disaster restoration industry, which is the big-ish industry that many of you know that I work in, and super pumped. So today, we're actually going to be looking at Belfor and SERVPRO. And now we're not pairing these by any particular order. We're just going to do them in consolidated episodes. And then at the end, we might do some more analogy or assessments of who might have the best out there right now. Or you guys can chime in and decide who you think the best is. So I'm going to be going back from the camera and my screen. So what we have here right now is I pulled up Belfor's corporate page. Now, one thing about Belfor that makes them different than any other company is their huge international presence. And if you go down to the bottom, they have a global site that is everywhere from Austria to Taiwan to Spain, United Kingdom, obviously big here in the US. They are a huge international company. Now, what I really love about Belfor and really how I know so much about Belfor is they were on Undercover Boss years ago. And their CEO has really put himself out there. He's probably the one CEO in the restoration industry that people might recognize. So, hands down, that was a very smart move for them, and they have used some of that content online. So, let's go ahead and take a look at their website. A few things that I love about their website is it's cleaner than most websites out there in general. But, one thing that a lot of these websites lack is when you pull it up, one thing that is very clear is that they have a tag right under their name that says property restoration. However, that could be a very vague term. And I think this is a lot, and every site we go through, we're going to notice this. They have an emergency number up there. They have a Get Help Now, and we'll click on that in just a second. But a lot of times they've got pictures going here, but they don't really clarify the core of what they do, which is the water cleanup, the fire cleanup. I mean, some of these pictures show that, but some of them don't. They just show them peeling things off a wall, equipment. But, a lot of people that have been through some type of loss, they don't really understand the process. And I think a lot of time this gets extremely confusing because when you see property restoration, you see disaster cleanup, whatever, it makes it very confusing. They do have an app, but you get to the website and you're like, well, they have an app, they have this, that. I mean, what is all this stuff? So, one thing that makes this very difficult being a national site is they have their 1-800 number up there, but, a lot of people like that local feel. And there's some companies in the restoration industry that do this really well. But this is what's really frustrating is there's just a lot going on this website. So if I'm a consumer and I'm a property manager and I've never been through this process, it can get a little confusing for me. Like, okay, what if I don't know what I'm looking for? Obviously, on the commercial side, property managers are more familiar with these types of companies and have relationships. But, this is some of the things on this site that I think would really help them stand out better is putting more of an emphasis on their location finder, which is kind of here in the middle of the site. Keep in mind, a lot of people are visiting these sites on mobile devices now. We're obviously looking at it on a desktop today, but this information can be consolidated when looking at it on a mobile device. So, the call button up there is going to be extremely important, which pretty much every site is going to have that up at the top. But I think there needs to be more visual, more compelling video that captures what they do on the homepage of this site. Now, going through here, I mean, they have all their categories. They have damage, which then lists water, fire, storm, and mold. I believe whatever is their most profitable should be the highlight and the focus of what they're trying to get people to click on first. Recovery services, we get into a lot more details. And then, every time you go to one of these pages, it's going to have, just more and more information to read. And, you can see like different services that they have and things, but a lot of words, not a lot of visuals. And visuals, I mean, they've got a few pictures here, but that's the kind of content that's going to do extremely well. They've got all their locations listed here by all the states for here in the U.S. They've got different solutions, which some of these things are really good, like their Red Alert program and how they work with insurance companies and things like that. These types of things need to be more visible as well. Or do they have sister sites or social content that drive to more of these areas? They have a prepared section, this is actually pretty interesting because they have different categories from a lot of disasters. But again, it's a lot of words. There's not a lot of visual here. But here, right here, different pictures and things like this, they need to capitalize more on that. They've got some good graphic, infograph type material here. But, how do they make that more creative? And again, that could be, using more social channels, YouTube type videos as well. They've got different resources here, news, about us. I mean, all of that is extremely important to have on the website, but they've got to address that homepage to be a little more appealing and drawing in. Obviously, Sheldon Yellen is very well known in the restoration. You'll see a lot of disasters happen. He's typically the first go-to guy that people want to get on the news because he is more well known. It says right here, unconventional CEO. I've seen a lot of his personality like that. Very, very appealing. Now, let's go ahead and take a look a little bit of their social media channels. So we're going to go to Facebook first. And I believe as an industry overall, restoration companies are really dropping the ball on social media. They treat it like it's just it's something that's not of value for them. And I think it's something that they really need to start putting more focus because they treat it too much like traditional media. Like, oh, we're just going to run advertising. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I believe firmly that they need to be putting more educational type material out there, like what to do when this happens, how to do that, this, and how to clean this, how to do that, especially simple household type cleaning stuff that they might not hire a major company to do. But right here, they've got over 40,000 likes on their Facebook page. Again, not a lot of engagement. You see, a lot of their posts and things like that. I'm actually not logged into Facebook. We're going to keep going down right now. They've got 3-5 likes. That means they're not really boosting or targeting any type of audience with their content. But this content doesn't really strike out as anything that people might want to see. Now, see, when they do like something on Giving Tuesday, it gets a lot more likes and shares and comments. There's the CEO of the company right there putting some exposure out there. That is really good. They just need to get that in more channels. A company like Belfor that does, oh gosh, I'm not sure of their numbers, but I'm sure they're in the billions worldwide, should be putting a little bit of marketing dollars in this. So, sometimes content with too many words doesn't go well on Facebook's algorithm. It doesn't get that much reach. But, sometimes, they've got some decent content they could work with here. But why are they not using more video? Why are they not using more of the things that could help get them more exposure? So, again, it just kind of seems like they're going through the motions with social media. I would definitely recommend that they get a little more active in that. Let's go ahead and look at Twitter. Twitter, again, and this is one that blows me away. Probably every restoration company, nobody is capitalizing on this. Twitter is not so much for self-promotion, although looking at this, like every other company, they use it for promotion and they share some other types of news, but very little engagement here on Twitter. They've got about 5,500 followers on there. But what I don't understand is why more companies aren't using Twitter as a resource to kind of, listen to what's going on out there. People have fires, people have floods, people have disasters all over this country, all over the world. And, I think every corporate office should be hiring somebody to literally go on Twitter, search.twitter.com, which is like the back end that searches for in regions and areas when there's storms. And you can actually see, what people are doing, what they're talking about, and you can jump into those conversations. Belfor, like here, what I'm not seeing is they could have somebody doing that 24/7, a team of social experts, which would not cost a company like this a lot of money, and they could actually put that information out there everywhere. Again, they've got some decent content on here, but it's like most companies, I would love to see more of Sheldon getting out there and doing the content. He's already kind of well known. He really has a leg up on all the other restoration companies because he is an executive leader that's obviously not afraid to put himself out there. It's almost like he just needs to hire a right-hand person that follows him everywhere, documents everything that he does, how he treats his people, because there's been a lot of talk that he does treat them well. Again, that's just on the limited amounts of times I've seen him, but I don't know. I mean, there could be a lot of opportunity there. But again, there's just not a lot of engagement on this Twitter page as well. So again, everything is clean, but it's lacking the engagement. It's lacking the marketing purpose. I mean, they spend a lot of money on television, but it just seems like, they're missing out. So YouTube, again, with the amount of money that they spend on television, and they only have 500 plus subscribers on YouTube. This is another area that they are severely lacking opportunity, and they're posting a lot on here. Their videos are only getting, 7 views, 13 views, 150. I mean, you could even run a small amount of dollars targeting different audiences all around the world. But, when I'm looking at this right here, a lot of the images are the same. For the videos, even though they're short, these life hack videos. Let's go ahead and look at one of these and just see what we're looking at. But again, nothing super exciting that I think people might want to watch. But this is just showing how to clean something in different languages. So it looks like they're trying to use this on an international scale or something like that. But again, they haven't posted a lot in the last 12 months. It looks like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago is when they had the bulk of their content, and they've slowly tapered off. It looks like they recently just started posting again on YouTube. But again, this is such a valuable channel to put education. I keep talking about being an education company in the restoration industry in your niche. And again, it just seems like it's far from lacking that. Let's just go ahead and look at the last few channels that were on here. They have an Instagram. They still have Google Plus, but I know that's kind of faded out. But again, just not a lot of followers on Instagram. They do have clean images on there, which is really important, and it looks pretty clean for the most part. But again, this needs to be highlighting some of their bigger work, some of their more creative work that could really get some exposure out there in the industry, because people use Instagram like a magazine, like it's something that they want to look for really cool, unique type images. Company like this has millions and millions of photos over the years of incredible work that they've done. I mean, look at some of these with the fire and things like that. Some of these could do really well. They've got their trucks placed in some of them. They definitely need to explore more on this. And again, it's just the tagging opportunities, the different organizations that they partner with. There's so much opportunity to expand in this area. So Belfor, definitely missing some opportunity. Again, you are a national brand. It's very clean as far as the brand and recognition. I know a lot of people are like, well, everybody knows who we are. Well, I'll be honest with you. Not a lot of people know disaster restoration companies. I hear it every day. I just had somebody I knew recently, $25,000 water loss, not a huge water loss, but in their personal house with some repair work, and didn't even know who to call. They've known me for years, but didn't even understand when I would say who I worked for in the industry and so forth. They didn't even know that. So Belfor, definitely a lot of opportunity to improve. You guys are obviously a very clean, well-respected brand, but you're talking about, by capitalizing on social media and just humanizing more of what you do. It's already there. It's just documenting it and getting more visuals, especially when you get to the homepage. I want to see visual. What do you guys do within less than 3 seconds? Because I can see from the visuals. And when I get to your homepage, it's just way too many words. So that's where we kind of stand on Belfor. Lots of room for improvement, like every other site that we look at. Again, I'm just putting opinions out there. These are more to open up discussions. Like, what do you guys think? What if you knew nothing about this industry, which many of you watching this probably do, but what would you do to recommend how a company like Belfor could improve? So next, like I said, we're going to review 2 today on this episode. And the next I want to look at is SERVPRO Corporate. And again, very similar SERVPRO is probably one of the most recognizable brands, especially in residential restoration. I know they're getting a lot bigger in commercial restoration now, like Belfor, and I'm sure they'll be expanding more and more, which they are pretty much. I mean, if you go to any major disaster, you are going to see green SERVPRO trucks everywhere because they are so dominant in the restoration industry, especially in every neighborhood, because they're franchised and there's probably over 1,700, 1,800 franchises across the U.S. So a very well-respected, well-known company. They've got a lot of partnership with like the PGA Tour. I know in the past they've done some stuff with the Red Cross. So they do have a well-recognized name out there. But again, a lot of people do not know what these companies do. So first thing, it's very very wordy when you get to the site. Now, one thing I like is they have water damage, fire damage, mold remediation up here as well as up here. Those visuals do give you a little bit more of what you're looking for when you get here. But again, it's so wordy. The picture doesn't really describe that. And I do believe people gravitate towards images now in 2018, going into 2019. So that is something they definitely need to focus on. A couple things that, when I scroll down to the bottom, I see the big labels for the First Responder Bowl and the PGA Tour. That seems like something that should be more visual at the top. Those logos are very recognizable, especially with the PGA Tour logo. But again, you got to get a lot of information on here. But I do like their locate a local franchise. Sometimes the word franchise scares me as a consumer. So maybe like find a local location or local provider, something that just makes it feel more like it's part of the team. I get they're trying to franchise and be independently owned and operated, but sometimes that needs to be good. But I do like how they have fire, water, cleanup, and restoration, 24/7 emergency service. It does quickly do that, but then all the words in the middle of the screen start to really turn me off on this website. But I do like how their phone number is very apparent, 1, 2, 3 times right there on the mobile site. I'm sure it clicks to call now. One thing about SERVPRO is their franchises have individual sites all over the country. That is great from a local SEO standpoint, which makes them very easy to find. And I know they have a very intensive internal system that allows franchises to update unique content and things on their website. So great job, SERVPRO, on that. But as far as content, they've got a lot of wordy stuff on here, which again is great for SEO, but from the consumer standpoint, it's a very intensive website of information. Again, there is some great educational information on here. A lot of this should be translated to at least videos at the top, where it's very heavy video and image driven on the top of the website, and then the verbal content is below or even hidden on pages just to continue to have that SEO value. They do have information on their corporate office and franchising, which is exciting. But let's go ahead and take a look at their social media channels as well. So the first is Facebook. And I do like, one thing that's different about theirs than Belfor is it opens their Facebook in a new window, which is, I just prefer that because I like being able to go back to their website if I'm looking, where sometimes I could get lost in social media and then I have to go back. So I do like the way they open that in a new link, which is another thing Belfor might want to look at upgrading on their website as well. So they've got about 57,000 plus people that like their page on Facebook, which is a pretty good amount. They're probably one of the larger ones in the restoration industry. Again, looking at their content, it looks like they share some of their local franchises, which is really cool. That humanizes them. But again, very little likes, engagement, and shares, which is something they should be targeting. I mean, this is a company that spends probably millions and millions on television advertising. Now here's one that looks like they might have boosted, or maybe it just got shared more, but this one has 4,700 likes. So it's so weird going from one that has 13, then you have one that has, thousands. So maybe they were doing a little bit of boosting there, but definitely a couple of them have some more boosting. So that is good. But then you go back to these are a little less. Again, content like this, too wordy. People are not going to read that, especially your titles. This is an area you guys really, would probably get a lot more organic engagement if you shorten the titles. I love how you tag some of your local franchises in there. The local photos are really clean. I would definitely be boosting those in those local markets. But again, you got to limit the wordage. I mean, you got a lot of words on here, and people are spending a lot of time on Facebook on their mobile devices. So when they're on their phone or something, they're going a million miles an hour. They're not going to stop to read content that's long. The videos, again, you're not using enough videos. I'd love to see more videos from a company like this because that is a great opportunity. Here's one. It looks like a short video, 24 seconds. again, it's got a little educational, but again, very wordy. You've got to do something that captures attention. Still images are not the best way necessarily. Hold on one second, it's trying to get me to log in. Again, here's another image, but just way too many text. And I don't even know if Facebook will allow you to boost if you have that much text in a picture, which they don't. It's typically a certain percentage or less when it won't let you do that. But again, this is a big company with thousands of franchises across the country. They need to be focused more on getting this out into target audiences, providing good call to actions on different categories that they work. Here's a little bit of better title right here. It's a little shorter and so forth. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at some of the other channels too. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Twitter real quick. And a little less than Belfor, but they on Twitter. But again, it looks like they're just regurgitating the same content that they have on Facebook. Again, not a lot of likes, not a lot of retweets. Again, this is a company that I know, like Belfor, probably has a national call center. They should have people on Twitter full time in storm events looking for things that people can take advantage of. Yeah, it looks like they're just forwarding the same content of everything from Facebook. So again, not the correct use of Twitter, but a lot of opportunity there. I'm gonna go here on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has just recently started improving their company pages, but with LinkedIn, it's a lot more about the personality of the person. Like this would be the one where the executives at SERVPRO, the executives at Belfor should be putting more stock in their personal brand that attaches to the company on LinkedIn and creating video content. It is by far the best organic reach they could be getting right now. And the thing, I just don't understand it because a lot of these companies are trying to grow in commercial, and this is an area where, oh my gosh, it is unbelievable how many opportunities there are for business to business and commercial representation if one of these executives just stepped out and was kind of the forefront in this space. So, LinkedIn is completely underutilized and so forth. And let's go ahead and finally check out YouTube here. And again, YouTube, Belfor, I thought, has really dropped the ball on that opportunity. Let's see if SERVPRO has done a little bit more on there. Again, only about 800 plus subscribers. It looks like, let me see their recent videos. See, not a lot. 2 weeks ago, 1 month ago, 7 months ago, and then a year ago. And it looks like a lot of commercials are just being shared on there. SERVPRO has really good video resources. I really wish that they would put more out there because I believe they can do a lot of it in-house through their corporate office. Like most of these companies have huge in-house teams that can put out content on the fly. But again, it's nothing exciting on here. There's no views. I mean, a month ago, this is a $1 billion brand like Belfor, 30 views, 37 views. That basically means your content sucks. No offense, but these are areas that you really have to start putting things out. I mean, a company like this should be getting hundreds of views to 1,000 plus. If the content's really creative and very educational, some of it could possibly go viral. So, I mean, they definitely got the minds to do that, but this is another area, huge improvement, just education. And then your franchises could share that in a huge network. So you've got 1,700 plus franchises that would be using this content if it was good in their respective websites, respective social media channels. A lot of opportunity there. So I really think SERVPRO has the best opportunity of any company because of their franchise websites that they have across the country and all their social media channels. They could really create a creative network where the locals create their own content, but as well use really good content being created from the top down, but also it gives the local franchises their opportunity to create their own content as well. So again, back to the main website, the biggest recommendation I would mean is just getting more visual. I do like versus Belfor how they have it's a little clearer about water, fire, mold, storm, and that type of information at the top. But again, if you're not familiar with this type of work, it can be very confusing and overwhelming. And I think when a lot of people come to these sites, they're looking for emergency service type work. They don't just go to a website like this for valid information, unless it was heavy on the education side where, how to get a stain out of my carpet, how to remove this from my carpet, how to do this, like basic thing, but also lead to the conversation of disaster, restoration, recovery, whatever the issue might be. So, those are the first two. We're going to kind of compare all of them at the end of this month, probably because I'm going to try to spend this month doing a few episodes on just matching up to like 2 companies per episode, just because it gets kind of long and you guys can kind of focus on different companies at different times. But a lot of areas for improvement, especially on the social media side. That's one thing I really like to see these companies do, is gravitate to more engaging social content, more humanizing content, especially from the executives down. These executives have so much respect, and a lot of people don't even know who they are because they're not putting themselves out there that much. So I think with the cost of getting out there on the social level, huge opportunity for SERVPRO and Belfor, would definitely allow them to compete more aggressively over all the other restoration companies that are out there, especially in storm events. But again, television's just not enough alone anymore. But again, website, obviously a lot of good content when you start reading through it, but it can be very confusing in what direction to go when you get there. But increasing the visual presence would definitely be a huge upgrade for both of these companies. So that is episode 1 of the Niche Experience. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast, follow it. I'm so excited to continue to put this information out there. If you guys have questions, thoughts, comment, chime in. This is all about you guys, whether you agree with me, disagree with me. The whole thing is, I want companies to see this and find ways to improve, whether you're a big company, a small company, even if you're one of the companies we're talking about today. What are areas that you can improve to help get you more customers? Because what I hate more than anything is in a niche space like restoration is I hate seeing people get misguided and end up with some Joe Smo contractor that can just come in and rip everything out and then ends up taking advantage of a customer when they're not really educated or have the standards that some of these bigger companies that have contractors and respected, licensed, certified people in their network. So again, these are 2 companies that are highly respected. And I think, if they just improve some minor areas and tweaks on their site, they've got the content, it's just executing and getting it out there. So lots of great opportunities. Again, comment, subscribe. Love to hear your thoughts. Put some advice on those. Many things I didn't cover today, but would love to see what you're thinking. I'm sure any representation of these companies would love to hear your feedback. And like most of them, a lot of them can execute pretty quickly. So anyway, hope you guys are having a great day. I look forward to talking to you guys on the next episode. Talk to you soon.